I made a couple studies to explore how you can use optical illusions in your art and design work, and I didn't really think too much of them, but my teacher and my classmate really loved them, so I figured I'd share what I learned with you all. Personally, I think the first and the last one are the best, but you can decide for yourself. This first technique is all about creating a geometry that doesn't really make sense. The best example of that is this purple edge right here, because it can be interpreted in at least three different ways, which creates a lot of visual confusion. And one really funny thing that my girlfriend had pointed out actually is that this looks a lot like a corn dog and this looks a lot like fries. So that's a funny and delightful coincidence. This one sucks, but it's all about subverting expectations, which means you take something that people are familiar with and then you try to make it look wrong somehow. So I just took a chair, put it in a weird perspective, and then gave it some weird legs. It doesn't look very good, but you gotta be willing to be bad if you wanna be creative, so YOLO. This one's all about creating nonsensical shadows. So I drew two pyramids and shaded them weird, but this cast shadow in particular makes the pyramid back here look like it's much closer and much smaller than I had originally drew it, and gives it this sort of floating effect, which is really cool. Okay, so this next one is absolutely horrifying. This one was supposed to be about combining convex and concave shapes, but these donut shapes here came out looking like something else entirely, which is a bit unsettling, but even more so when you zoom out and see the full nightmare fuel emoji that will haunt me forever. This technique is pretty simple. It just involves creating shapes of the same size because in two-dimensional art, bigger things are usually closer to the viewer, so when they're the same size, you can't really tell which one's supposed to be in front of the other, and it creates a nice little puzzle for the viewer. Similarly, warm colors usually appear closer to the viewer and cool colors appear farther away. So if you try to position warm objects behind cool objects, it can create visual confusion. I don't think this one was that successful, but this part in particular makes me think that if I swapped out this green for reds and yellows, it probably would have been a lot more effective. I love this next technique. If you use hard edges, they will appear closer to the viewer than soft ones do. So if you use hard edges on something that's usually positioned further back, it creates a confusing but intriguing look. Like this mouth here would normally be positioned behind the nose, but looks like it's much further in front. Same with the bow tie, same with the ear, and this crown doesn't look as weird, but that's because crowns do normally come in front of the head. This last one's all about faking transparency. So to do this, you overlap shapes on top of one another, but you preserve the edges of each shape, making it look transparent even though it's not, and making it hard to tell which is supposed to be in front of the other. So those are the 7 optical illusion techniques that I explored. My favorites were definitely the faux edges, the mixing graphic and blended edges, and then the faux transparency. Which ones are your favorites?